Go. Oh, hi. We're changing the rotors and the pads on a 2013 Subaru Forrester. If you look at my other video, we did the back ones probably 6 months ago, and now we're going to do the front. I'm filming this in such a way that for people who don't have lifts and so forth, the only thing you have to know is how to change a spare tire. So I'm using the jack from the car, or I taken the tire off, obviously. Things you're going to need for this job: get a container of some sort to put your bolts and your pieces in. I've not done that before, and you'll be looking for a bolt eventually. The tools you're going to need are, I got a giant C-clamp, or this is also a press that pushes the cylinder back in. And as far as the sockets go, I have two 14mm, I believe these are two 14mm bolts that'll help pull off the old rotor. I have a socket, one socket that is 13mm, one socket that's 14mm, another one that's 17, and I'll explain why I have 11/16 open wrench. Couldn't find my hammer, just something to beat the rotor with to knock it a little bit loose, so I got my crowbar, or a hammer will do, that'll be fine. Wire brush, some sandpaper, and a screwdriver just for some prying purposes. When you're buying these, don't price them individually. A lot of times I got mine at Pep Boys. I bought a rotor and the pads together. If I bought them separately, they would have been $150. I got two rotors and a set of front pads for $105. So that's the way you want to go. So to start off, I believe we're going to start off with a 14mm, and we're going to first we're going to take off the caliper. Two bolts sit back, one's here, one's down back here. So here, and then its mate is down below. You'll find it. Just push this back. Make sure you got the ratchet set the right way. You know what? This is why we film it. Let's have the wrench set the wrong way. There we go. Yes, make sure you're loosening and not tightening. Always a good idea. Once you get them loose, they should come off with your fingers. Container, and hopefully, if this doesn't slide out, that's what I got this giant C-clamp for. Just put it in there, and you push this back a little bit, compresses the cylinder, takes the pressure off the rotor, and then hopefully it should slide right out. And I just put that over there for now, and we'll come back to that later. The next step is we have to take the bracket off to get to the rotor. That's where the 17mm and the 11/16 comes in. There's two bolts, one back here, and then the corresponding one down below. The reason I got the open wrench is my socket, there's a bolt here, my socket won't fit on this one. And it just so happens that 11/16 works in place of, hang on a second, while we're filming in real time. There we go. They will eventually come loose. Got the bottom one loose. Now we're going to do the top one and just get it loose. Hang on a second. Try not to jerk it, because you just constant pressure. I didn't use any penetrating oil. Maybe what you need. I didn't need it on the other side, so I didn't worry about it on this side. The other thing, if you notice, I got something down underneath the tire or the wheel frame. That way, if you're spraying anything, you're not putting it on your driveway, and then you just roll it up and throw it away when you're done. Yes, I'm watching you watch every turn of the screw. You can feel free to forward. But I watch too many videos where the people will turn it off and then you don't see what's happening. I figured you have a fast forward button. If you don't want to watch this, you don't have to.
What are you doing now?
Oh, I'm taking off the bracket that holds the pads in place, and that will expose the rotor, and you'll see what I mean here. Before you take this apart with a modern idea, you might want to take a picture, because we're going to be replacing these brackets, and then you'll see when I do it. But you think you'll remember, but you won't. Just take a picture of where everything is before you do it. Next thing is we're going to take the rotor off, and I'm going to hit that with a couple things. Excuse me, ma'am. We have the brush, we have this, and this is where the bolts and the rotor come in. Normally there's a little rust that builds up around this, and just going to try to get as much as I can off. Again, if you want, you can hit this with some penetrating oil. I didn't need it on the other side, so I have it, but I didn't worry about it. It's a good thing to have. The nice thing that Subaru did was they put two little bolts, or 2 slots for bolts, that when you push them in there, it acts like a gear puller. And once you get them started, which they did on the other side, so hopefully. I think there's just a little rust built up in there. There we go. There we go. Get them started. There we go. This is where your 13mm socket comes in. And you just kind of want to do it evenly. You don't want to overdo one and get it going cockeyed. I can feel it starting to work now. A couple on that side. Couple on this side. You can see it starting to move a little bit. Once you get it moving, there we go. There's your old rotor. This is where let's get the loose stuff off. And then clean the hub up a little bit. That's got some old sandpaper here. Get the worst of it off. If you had emery cloth, it'd probably be better, just easier to work around a circle with emery cloth, but again, these weren't that bad. And I'm not going to worry about getting it nice and shiny. Just don't want to get the worst of it off. Before I put the rotor on, just going to take advantage of this. And this is where you want one of the old pads. And can you hand me the perfect. Put the old pad there. And these are just a little bit little easier to handle than your giant C-clamp. You could use your giant C-clamp. This is just kind of easier to do. Crap, sorry. And you just keep, the way this one's designed is you got to keep bouncing back and forth because you got 2 pistons to push back. Should we charge it up? Okay. So I'm just keep pushing this back, keep pushing this back. Again, you got 2 pistons. Don't try to do all one at one time. One more push on the other side, and I think we're good. Okay. Pistons are pushed back in place, so they'll receive the new one. Oh. It's an old one, don't worry about it. Again, I'm just getting rid of all the loose rust. I don't know if we did this might be the original set still, not for sure. I don't remember doing this before. Okay. Okay, so that'll hang there fine. Okay, now we're going to reassemble it. I'm going to put the rotor on. Oops, while I'm over here, I'm trying to use the Okay, so we took it apart, we got off the worst of the rust. You can clean it down to where you want to take it. I just like to get the loose stuff off. New rotor, you just put it over the studs, and that's ready to go. Now this is your bracket that's going to go on. Again, take a photo, that way you remember where everything goes, because we're going to disassemble it with the kit. So we get rid of that all, and then these come out as well, and they're not the same. And easy to assemble, but again, they're not the same. Okay, and then so old pieces, and trying to go fast here. Again, just take your get the worst of it out. Want to get those grooves just so the new pieces fit in there nicely. And then we'll reassemble. Okay, I think that's good enough. These are your new grooves that your pad is going to work on or slide on. Again, if you're paying attention, this bracket goes up on top. They really do just clip in there like that. And then you have another one that just clips in the bottom. These little tails, that's how I keep track of it. Go on this side. Again, and they're in there like that, and then we just have to reattach this to that. So the reverse process. These are the 2 bolts to go there. And I had, so that if you ever have to do this again, a little anti-seize. A dop like that is all you need. And we'll put it back in. Back. Hang on a second. Let me get the bottom one then. Got that. Okay, we got that one. And this one was just being a little touchy. Wasn't for sure if I had it square or not. Don't want to force these. You don't. That's the only one is get them cross threaded. There we go. It feels better.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, we got that. Okay. We're going to be tightening these up now. Here we go. And then do the top one. You have to use the opener and wrench for this one. Try not to have you guys go out and buy a lot of new toys or tools, however you want to look at it. Keep going. Okay, we picked up. My phone went dead. When you're recording something, people, make sure the phone's charged up. I wasn't paying attention to that. My daughter, you know. So I'm a little sorry about the production value, but hopefully this is helpful to you.
I'll have you know that my phone takes great videos.
We'll see if we're combining the ability with a 6 with an 11. Can you do me a favor, hand me that utility knife right there? In the box. Thank you. So, what we have done, we've got the rotor back on. We got the bracket that holds the pads back on. Secured a little anti-seize on the bolts so that next time you do it, they come off with some ease. We got these brackets back in and we just have to put the pads on now. So, these are the pads. If you're curious about which one goes where, again, take that photo, but what you want is this little bracket is supposed to ride on that right there. So hopefully, you put these in, you push down, and hand me the screwdriver. This is where the screwdriver comes in a little handy. Sometimes that bracket isn't so handy. This makes it a little easier to get those on. And that is supposed to ride I'm not for sure why. It's supposed to be on that. There we go. Now you probably will, I'll probably disappear for a minute because I'm going to go do the back side. And then we'll put the caliper on when I get this pad on, and we'll be all good. There we go. Okay.
I don't.
You're not going to be able to see me, but I will get this. Just freeze it for now. Pads are on, and we just have to put the caliper back on. So, and that should be hopefully simple. If you compress it right, it just slides right back over the pads like that. And we just have to put the 2 bolts in. Again, excuse me for being a little on the sloppy side here. Again, a little anti-seize because this one will probably come in handy. Just because you will probably have to do the pads hopefully before you have to do the other thing I would suggest, if somebody tells you you need new rotors but not new pads, just do the pads. One, you've gone to they're not that expensive. You want your car to start, and you've already ripped it apart. So even if they say you don't need them, just put new pads on. And there we go. There we go. It's just lining up the bolt. I think I got it lined up. Don't force screws. You never bolts. You never want them to cross thread on you. That's probably the bigger sin than anything else. A little wiggling eventually. There, it caught. It caught. Patience and time, as they would say. And hopefully this is my 13. Is there another socket? Give me that socket, that's the one I need. This is your 14 millimeter. So tighten these up and switch it back. And after we get this tightened up, one last thing to do. I'm not going to show you putting the tire back on. I'm assuming you have the skill to at least replace a spare tire. Otherwise, you're probably not attempting this. And this is going to be it. So it took probably what, 25 minutes to do it. Now granted, I did the other side, which probably took me 35 minutes, which was my first one, so this one went smoother. But again, make sure don't wrench on them, you just want them tight. Okay, and then the last step, and I always forget this, so we're going to film this, is after you've compressed that cylinder, you want to pump your brakes to push it back out. So you don't have to start the car or anything like that. Again, you just want to sit here and push that pedal down again until it comes back up to where it should be. You don't want, because your first press is going to go all the way down. Probably give it a half a dozen presses until it becomes solid again, and then you're good. And that's it.